Hi loves, welcome back to Nursing with Anya. Today we're going to be starting at the very beginning and learning just how the human body is built. So before we can start learning about nursing interventions, medications, labs, we need to know a basic foundation. We're going to start with the smallest living part of your body, the cell, and then we'll move on to tissues, organs, organ systems. But we're going to do it in a way that makes sense. By the end of the video, you'll know how all these little pieces connect and why this basic foundation is so important in nursing. Let's get started. So your body is made up of trillions of tiny little structures within the body, and those are called cells. Now, cells can do a lot of things, which is it can take in nutrients like what we get from our food. It can produce energy. It can respond to its environment, like say it's really cold and your body automatically starts shivering. And also it can do a bunch of little jobs, which I will talk about what they are. And then eventually those cells are either going to reproduce, have babies, or they're going to die. So here's some examples. Let's talk about, say, muscle cells, right? That helps the body what? Contract. Let's write all that down. So we said it can what? Take in nutrients. It can perform jobs. We said reproduce or what? Die. It can what? Produce energy. And we said it will respond to the environment. Okay, let's now zoom into the performing jobs part. So with performing jobs, what kind of jobs? Let's say your muscle cells. What are they going to do? They're going to contract the muscle, right? What about your skin cells? They're going to protect your body. What about, say, nerve cells? When we say we can telepathically, hear people or understand them, we're what? Telepathically sending messages, right? So nerve cells can send and receive messages. Today's little critter is going to be Barry. If you guys can find Barry somewhere in the video, I will send you a free PDF of today's lecture. Okay, back to the video. And what about red blood cells? Those can carry oxygen throughout the body and to the tissues, which we'll talk about later. So some examples, we're talking about muscle cells, nerve cells, skin cells, and red blood cells, RBCs. So we said muscle cells contract, nerve cells receive messages, skin cells, we said protect us, right? And red blood cells carry oxygen. Right now we're focusing on the cells. We don't need to know how they carry oxygen. How does a muscle cell contract? How do we deliver and receive messages? Right now we're focusing on what is a cell. Now, why do we specifically care about cells, especially when it comes to nursing? Because many of the disease processes that you will learn about in nursing school, a lot of them have to do with some sort of damage that happens to the cells that now start creating a plethora of other problems throughout the body because the body is connected. So an example, let's say, for that is the heart cells, okay? So if the heart cells are not getting enough oxygen, they can start to die and get affected, right? So if enough of those cells are getting affected, the entire tissue starts to die or get affected as well, which can now what? Ruin and damage the entire organ, which is the heart being an organ. And we'll break everything else down with time. Don't stress. All right, next we're going to learn about tissues. So we talked about cells. Now let's talk about tissues. So a tissue is basically just a group of cells working together to perform a similar type of function. So that entire group of cells that are all working together to do that same thing is called a tissue. So, group of cells working together to perform a similar function. Okay, so why does that kind of make sense? Let's think about, I said a muscle cell contracts, right? Do you think a teeny itty tiny little bit of a cell, smallest little unit on in our entire body is going to automatically contract your entire bicep? No. But can a group of them, a big group of them, that is a tissue, all work together to try to contract fibers within that muscle? Yeah, they can do that. So these different muscle tissues can now work together to form a bigger and stronger contraction, and eventually that goes for our whole body, right? My whole body that can contract and move. Okay, so now I talked about tissues. Now these tissues, because your body has so much random stuff like my tongue, it's not the same texture as my toe, right? No. Okay. So I wouldn't expect to have the same kind of cells on my tongue that I would on my super thick big toe, right? No. So with that being said, there are different kinds of tissues. Let's talk about them. There are also just those 4 that we'll talk about, okay? The first one we'll talk about is epithelial. Epithelial. Second one is going to be connective. Get connected for free with Education Connection. Next is muscle. And the last one is going to be nervous. So your nervous system tissue. So epithelial is going to deal with the protective and lining tissues within your body. So protective and lining. And if that doesn't make sense just as is, think of like your inside of your cheek, okay? There's some sort of lining, or your skin has epithelial cells, which is lining. Connective tissue, it's kind of what it sounds like. Connection, so it kind of helps with binding tissues together, or even providing some sort of support and connection around all the organs and tissues. So we'll call it support. Muscle, basically what? Forming those muscle tissues that can help contract muscles. So contraction. And then nervous cells that create nervous tissue, like your brain, your spinal cord. We'll go all in depth in the nervous system in future videos, but for now we're just gonna say it is nervous tissue. Okay, so we learned about different kinds of tissues. Now what is the next step? Get this, what your body does is takes multiple of all these working together in some kind of combination to create an organ, okay? So an organ is just a body structure that is made of multiple different types of tissue working together. Okay, now why would I need multiple tissues for an organ? Well, think of it like this. Remember we had those cells, and the cells perform jobs, right? But different cells perform different jobs. So say I have my heart. I don't just need my heart to beat. I also need some sort of connective tissue to keep it together, right? I don't just need the lining to protect that heart inside your body. I also need something to help it contract and actually beat, right? So we need a multitude of these to come together and form that organ. So examples of organs, you guys are probably well aware. I named the heart, let's say your liver, your pancreas, your kidneys, your pineal gland, your brain, etc., etc. Okay, now we're almost at the end of what comes after an organ. So after an organ comes an organ system. Now, what is an organ system? You guessed it, if you did. It's just a bunch of organs working together to complete a major body function. Let's think of like the heart, right? As we were talking about earlier. So the heart has all these little blood vessels that help carry blood. And again, when we breathe in our good oxygen air, oxygen-rich air. It goes within the lungs, which are then connected to the heart, which helps pump oxygen-rich blood throughout your body. So in that, the heart and the blood vessels are going to be your cardiovascular system, okay? And you guys have heard of cardio. Oh, that's such good cardio. It's good for your cardiovascular, your heart, cardiovascular system. What about your mouth, your esophagus, your stomach, your intestines? All of that is what? Your digestive system. Good. So just like that, you're going to have organ systems, and there are going to be 11 organ systems that we will learn about throughout the rest of nursing. And literally that is the entirety of nursing. Ooh, something went wrong with this tiny little cell, which ruined the tissue, which messed up the organ, and oh, now I can't digest food properly. Oh, disease process. Great. So that is all. We are breaking this down simple, and it'll be a long journey, but you guys got this. I know nursing school is not easy. Learning this is not easy, but I am here dedicated to make this easier for you guys to learn. Now, the next biggest thing you need to know is these organs that create that organ system. Let's write that down. So, do you think if something gets messed up with the heart, it's just gonna remain in the heart? If something gets messed up with the kidneys, it's just gonna be a kidney problem? No. Your body works together with all of its organ systems working perfectly together to create the moving little thing called the human body, which is actually very fascinating. So, something's wrong with heart, not just gonna stay there. Ooh, now the blood vessels are messed up. Oh, now the blood traveling to the rest of your organs is not oxygen rich. Oh no, now your kidneys are getting affected. Oh no, now because your kidneys are affected, you now are not able to get rid of all the toxins in your body. And oh no, everything is related, okay? So now we have found out just how important these tiny little cells are to the rest of your body. The next video is gonna talk about how these guys do all of this. How does it perform this job? What do we need to do to keep this poor cell alive, well, and helping our human bodies? All right, see you guys next time. Mwah.